Good morning and welcome to the PSC. We'll begin the meeting in approximately 2 minutes. Good morning and welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for March 19th, 2021. It's good to be sitting once again next to Commissioner Herman on the virtual bench here. This obviously has beginning to show the signs of a rebirth and reopening this spring. I was commenting to Commissioner Herman this morning as I took a walk in the woods, seeing all the little holes drilled by the cicadas coming out. And they'll be bringing a few billion or trillion of their friends with them soon. We are seeing signs across the state of Maryland of various reopenings. This coming Friday, Governor Hogan will be reopening the State House to the public. And just last week, the BWI International Airport saw its record high traffic compared to post-pandemic levels. So we are returning to a period of normalcy. I expect that the commission will return to more normal operations in the coming months, and I'm looking forward to that. It's a period that we should be excited for as we transition back to a place of normalcy. With that, we have a nice agenda before the commission today. I'd like to begin with approval of the minutes from our last meeting on May 12th, 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 9 items on today's consent agenda, and all of them concern unbundled network element loop forbearance amendments to interconnection agreements between Verizon Maryland LLC and respectively Atlantic Online Inc., CBTS Technology Solutions LLC, Baltimore Washington Telephone Company, GetGo Communications LLC, Wide Voice LLC, WiMAX Communications Corp., Bullseye Telecom Inc., Wholesale Carrier Servicing Inc., and finally Armstrong Telecommunications Inc.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions on these 9 consent agenda items? Seeing none, I would propose a global motion for all 9 items that we approve the interconnection agreement amendments 10 days following the 30-day comment period unless adverse comments are filed. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Mr. Secretary, the administrative agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, item number 10 on the administrative agenda is an application from Verser Inc. on behalf of Microsoft Corporation for approval to construct a generation station. On this item for staff, we have Michael Zhang and James Greger, and for the company, Ina Tasmali and Barbie Patel.
Good morning, Mr. Zhang.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Michael Zhang on behalf of staff. Item 10 is an application filed by Versar Inc. on behalf of Microsoft Corporation for approval to construct 3 generation stations in Annapolis Junction, Maryland. The first generation station consists of 2 generators totaling 6 megawatts. The second generation station consists of 17 generators totaling 52.75 megawatts. The third generation station also consists of 17 generators totaling 52.75 megawatts. All 3 generation stations use diesel as their primary fuel source and will only operate during an emergency. Microsoft expects that the generation stations will be in service in May 2023. Staff has reviewed the application and concludes that Microsoft has met the requirements for a CPCN exemption for the 3 generation stations. The company is reminded that it must obtain all required local permits and authorizations and comply with all applicable zoning ordinances, land use requirements, and environmental regulation. Staff recommends that the Commission approve the application.
Thank you, sir. We will turn to the company representatives for any additional comment.
No comment. No comments.
Council. I'm sorry, was that Ms. Patel? No comments?
No comments.
Okay. Would you like to make an appearance for the record, please? No, Ms. Patel, are you with us?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Can you just make an appearance for the record?
It says my video is on.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Patel.
Okay. Yes.
We will return to commissioners. Do any commissioners have questions? Seeing none.
One quick question, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ask, Mr. Zhang, you said that the company needs to comply with all local permitting requirements. What involvement does the Maryland Department of the Environment have in this? And if we're bypassing the CPCM process, how does the air quality division of Maryland Department of the Environment get involved in this process at all?
From my understanding, after the Commission makes a decision on deciding, then the company will reach out directly to the other, I guess, authorities to make sure that they comply with any other requirements that are needed for them to construct this generation station.
So by any other authorities, you mean what? Who is that? How is that controlled, or kind of? How does compliance work there?
So I don't know the exact authorities that the companies must reach out to specifically, but I do understand that they do reach out to the air quality. They do need to obtain an air quality permit from, I believe it's MDE.
Can I provide some input to that?
Please.
This is Ms. Patel. So yes, after we receive your exemption approval, we do have to submit air quality permit application to MDE. Prior to even installing the generators, they review it, provide any feedback, and then they'll provide us with a approval to construct permit. Once we install the generators, MDE also provides us, I believe, another form prior to operations that we have to provide some stack testing requirements, etc., for environmental compliance. Once all of that is submitted back to MDE, they give us an approval to operate the generators for emergency use.
All right, very good. That answers my question. I appreciate that. These are significantly large generators, and and they're burning diesel fuel. And I just want to make sure that the environmental aspects were looked at in a formal process, not informal.
Absolutely. Understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jang. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, I would move that we approve the application. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 11 on today's administrative agenda is an application from Chesapeake Utilities Corporation for authority to exercise franchise to provide natural gas services in the town of Princess Anne. On this item for staff, we have Lloyd Spivak, for the company, Brian Quinn and Matt Everingham, and for Office of People's Counsel, Fred Hoover.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Spivak.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item number 11 is a filing by Chesapeake Utilities Corporation requesting authority to exercise a natural gas service franchise granted by the President and Commissioners of the town of Princess Anne. Chesapeake is a gas company and a public service company under the Public Utilities Article Sections 101-101K and 1-101X and is subject to Commission regulation under Public Utilities Article 2-112. Under Public Utilities Article Section 5-201, the Commission may grant authorization for a public service company to exercise a utility franchise. The standard for granting Commission authorization to exercise a franchise is whether doing so would serve the public convenience and necessity. The franchise agreement from Princess Anne grants Chesapeake a franchise for 25 years, which is exclusive for at least the first 3 years, after which Princess Anne may revoke that exclusivity if Chesapeake is a non-performing franchisee. This is a follow-on from Chesapeake's filing last year to exercise a franchise granted by Somerset County. That filing was precipitated by Chesapeake being selected to satisfy an RFP issued by the Maryland Environmental Service to provide natural gas service to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore and the Eastern Correctional Institute, two large state facilities near Princess Anne. In order to do so, Chesapeake must extend its gas main down US Route 13 from the Salisbury area. The Somerset franchise did not include areas within the municipal limits of Princess Anne, so granting this application will close a gap and enable Chesapeake to serve additional customers in the most densely built-up area along the Route 13 corridor. Chesapeake will finance expansions through its annual capital budget and, if necessary, customer contributions. Chesapeake states that the proposed gas service expansion into Princess Anne will only be done in accordance with its tariff, which incorporates an economic test for gas expansions. Staff agrees with a letter from the town of Princess Anne that authorizing Chesapeake to exercise a franchise in the town of Princess Anne will benefit the town and its residents and businesses. Even though no analysis has been provided that addresses net benefits to existing customers, the already approved expansion of the gas main serving the US Route 13 corridor through and adjacent to Princess Anne suggests incremental cost to expand should not be prohibitive, as does the requirement that any expansion be compliant with the economic test in Chesapeake's tariff. The application also satisfies all the content requirements found in COMAR 20.07.04.03. Accordingly, staff recommends that the Commission authorize Chesapeake Utilities to exercise the franchise granted by the town of Princess Anne.
Thank you for the recommendation, Mr. Spivak. We'll turn to counsel for Office of People's Counsel. Mr. Hoover.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Fred Hoover on behalf of the Office of People's Counsel. We have reviewed Chesapeake's application as well as the data responses that they sent back to us and to our questions to them about the application and staff's analysis in its comments. And we agree with staff that Chesapeake's application meets the Commission's standards for approval of the natural gas expansion.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Counsel for Chesapeake Utilities.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Brian Quinn here today on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities. No comments. We obviously agree with staff's recommendation and request your favorable vote this morning. Thank you. Here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Do commissioners have questions of the parties? Commissioner Linton.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. I have a question for Mr. Quinn on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities. I was just curious how the project is proceeding for the gas expansion in Somerset County.
Thank you, Commissioner Linton. Yes, we put shovels in the ground about a month and a half ago to begin extending the line from Salisbury down to the Somerset County line, and then the rest of the way, 10 miles or so down to ECI. So as part of the BPW approval, there's a moratorium on crossing certain wetlands during certain time of the year. And I think that moratorium just started, but they did cross 2 of the wetlands crossings they had to cross, and they've begun laying the line. So it's just kind of on temporary hold. But you can drive out there today and you can see construction areas along Route 13 and near Salisbury. And they're on schedule to get where they need to get by the end of this year.
Good. Okay. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I just wanted to make sure because the company is now taking on 2 expansions basically at the same time, both Somerset and Princess Anne. And in light of the fact that we're coming out of a situation that would have prohibited action and work like this, I just wanted to make sure the company is able to do both projects at the same time.
Yes, sir. Again, we're here just for a franchise approval. We're not under any time deadline to start hooking up customers in Princess Anne quite yet, but we are under a deadline to get where we need to be at UMES and ECI. And I promise you that was no easy hike to get here, as you're aware, and the Board of Public Works is aware, and the company is very excited and to begin this project and finish it on time. And I can tell you the local residents down there are very excited and supportive. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions, I would move that we grant Chesapeake Utilities the authority to exercise the franchise granted by Somerset County. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Sorry for the delay there. Item number 12 on today's agenda is from UGI Utilities, Inc. It's an amendment to a negotiated contract. On this item for staff, we have Afton Hauer, and for the company, Kristen Erickson.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Hauer.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Afton Hauer on behalf of Commission staff. And I would also like to note that Mr. Greger is here on behalf of staff as well. By letter filed March 30th, 2021, UGI Utilities, Inc. filed an amendment to a previously filed negotiated contract in order to comply with COMAR 20550302A. Staff has reviewed the filing and believes the terms, conditions, and pricing of the contract are appropriate, reasonable, and consistent with other negotiated contracts. Staff recommends acceptance of the amended negotiated contract for filing, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hauer. We'll turn to UGI Utility, one of our smallest utilities in the state. Good to see you, Ms. Erickson.
Good morning, Commissioner, Chairman and Commissioners. Kristen Erickson from Miles and Stockbridge on behalf of UGI Utilities. I will note my appearance and I'm here to answer questions. Obviously, we agree with staff's recommendation and would ask the Commission to approve the negotiated contract.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have questions on this item? Seeing none, I would move that we accept the amended negotiated contract for filing. Vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Mr. Secretary, the final item, please.
Mr. Chairman, item number 13 on today's administrative agenda consists of revised tariff pages from Sandpiper Energy, Inc. To include capacity release credits in the calculation of the gas service rate. On this item, we have Mark Riley for staff and Brian Quinn and Matt Ebernam for the company.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Riley. Mr. Riley, you're on mute.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Mark Riley on behalf of staff. On April 12th, 2021, Sandpiper Energy filed revised tariff pages to revise its gas service tariff to include capacity release credits in the GSR calculation. In Sandpiper's most recent gas purchase adjustment proceeding, case 9514H, staff recommended that Sandpiper revise its GSR tariff section to include capacity release credits in the calculation of the GSR rate, similar to Chesapeake Utilities Maryland Division's tariff language. In the revised tariff, Sandpiper added two sentences. First sentence, multiply the gross margin associated with the sales made pursuant to the capacity release by 90%. And the second sentence is the result shall be credited monthly to the company's gas service customers through the gas cost recovery mechanism. Staff reviewed the proposed tariff languages and has determined they are consistent with Sandpiper's calculation of its monthly GSR and are also consistent with Chesapeake's tariff language in the GSR calculation for capacity release margin sharing. The staff recommends the Commission accept for filing Sandpiper's revised tariff pages effective May 19, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. We'll turn to counsel for Sandpiper Energy.
Good morning again. Brian Quinn on behalf of Sandpiper Energy. The company agrees with staff's recommendation. Simply put, this is just a cleanup. This is something that Sandpiper did and just wasn't quite clear in its tariff. Other than that, appreciate your favorable vote.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have questions? Seeing none, I would move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of today, May 19th, 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Seeing no additional business on today's administrative meeting, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.